Hey, we're live.
Yeah, man, we're back.
What is going on, people? As you notice, we are down a man this evening. My brother
Yeah,
Charles is otherwise engaged tonight, so we won't be having him on unless he decides to maybe pop on at some point. He said that he could maybe pop in unannounced, so we'll
dad
see.
was. Um,
But that being said, welcome back. We are on episode 21 of the Reptile Hangouts podcast. I got to be honest, Gabe. I
21 already?
mean, yeah, I got to be pretty honest with you, man. I mean, I definitely wanted to do this when I set out to do it, but the fact that we're on episode 21 is kind of surreal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like I still feel like we just did the first one a couple of weeks ago.
seems that way. Yeah,
Yep.
pretty crazy. But yeah, welcome back. This is Reptile Hangouts. We do it every week, except for some weeks, as we've already discussed in prior weeks. But you got us tonight. You got me and Gabe. We are going to be going over some just interesting things that we've seen going on in the world of reptiles. Not necessarily in herpetoculture, but pretty much anything having to do with reptiles. So, as always, we're going to go into our plug for the night for USARK.
Oh man,
If you're not familiar with USARK, what are you doing? If you're in the hobby, USARK is extremely important to what we do in this hobby. They're constantly fighting for our rights, and right now it's pretty much never been more important than it is right now. That was a weird way
yeah,
to say it. But yeah, so we're looking at the America Competes Act, and specifically we're looking at the Lacey Act amendments, and we've been hitting this pretty hard every week since we found out about it, but we're going to talk about it again. The Lacey Act amendments are on like 4 pages, right in the middle of this like 3,000 page document. And what I've learned this evening is that currently the Senate committee that's been put together to review this document and try to get it through the Senate has been named. So it's really important that we continue to reach out to our representatives via email, via phone calls, whatever it takes to let them know that we oppose these Lacey Act amendments. So basically what happens is they take this big giant bill, they gut it a little bit, bring it into the Senate, and by gutting it, they're actually not looking at the Lacey Act amendments currently. Um, and then maybe they'll put them back. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that they don't put them back the way that they're currently worded. Because if they do, we could be looking at the end of the pet industry pretty much altogether. I mean, anything that's not a dog, cat, or livestock is at risk. There's some interesting stuff going on with it right now. If you go to USARK, you'll see that there's even some veterinarians that are now speaking out against the Lacey Act amendments. And I didn't even think of this. It's pretty crazy. Especially for exotics, when it comes to birds, reptiles, things that are really specialty areas of veterinary medicine. Sometimes you can't find a specialty vet nearby where you live. And sometimes you even have to drive out of state to get to it.
yeah,
Like I live
absolutely.
in what we call a tri-state area. We got Ohio right over here. We got Kentucky right over here. Luckily, I have a vet that's in Charleston, West Virginia, which is like 50 miles further into the state. But if I didn't, I might have to go to Kentucky or I might have to go to Ohio to take a reptile to the vet. And if it's a reptile that doesn't make the white list, if these Lacey Act amendments go through, then I'm committing a felony by moving that animal across state lines just to get it medical treatment, which is
Yep,
crazy.
that is crazy.
Absolutely insane. Yeah.
I
So that's
mean,
an interesting thing that they're talking about on there now.
mhm,
You're
it's
going to say
crazy.
something, buddy?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, like that's just crazy. And not just on top of that, just if you had to move, like right now, I'm in the process of moving. You
Right.
gotta move to another state. Like
Yep.
you'd have to get rid of your animals. Like that. That's like God.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you'd be committing a felony if you were moving across state lines with something that wasn't approved.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
absolutely ridiculous.
I got stuff
Um,
that wouldn't be approved.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, stuff would definitely not make the list. I mean, I'm even concerned with the stuff that I keep. And I mean, currently only keeping, what seems to be innocuous geckos from New Caledonia. But, if somebody down the line argues that it could survive in Florida, that it could, and these Lacey Act amendments go through, then we could be looking at not being able to transport crested geckos across state lines anymore.
Yeah,
That would completely kill that part of the hobby. We wouldn't be able to ship them. We wouldn't be able to move them with us if we move. It's just, yeah,
no,
it's not a good thing.
no, absolutely.
And on the front of USARK, we mentioned it last week. There is a link down in the description of this stream for USARK's brand new YouTube channel. They have their own YouTube channel now. Garrett Hartle from Reach Out Reptiles is playing a big part in getting this together and helping Phil Goss and everybody at USARK put this channel together. So I have to just stop and laugh. Good evening, Wally. Mr. Nick.
Yeah, Mr. Nick. Hey, bro, that's stock, bro.
never gonna live that one down, are you, Gabe? But anyway, yeah. USARK's YouTube channel. I shared it on the Gecko Galaxy Facebook, the Reptile Hangouts Facebook earlier. If you're not subscribed, if you're on YouTube and you're a reptile person, subscribe to USARK's YouTube channel. They're going to put out really good informative content, that's going to help not only with, your reptile keeping, but it's also going to keep you informed as to what's going on with these different legislations and stuff. And the more people we get subscribed to the YouTube channel, the more it looks like there's support for this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So let's get out there and let's get together and make our voices heard. That's what they're saying on there. So I think it's important. Let's do it. That being said, we're out of the USARK section now, for now, although we should always be thinking about it.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, buddy?
Bro, as you can see, I'm freaking exhausted. We're just sitting here getting ready to. I mean, I know behind here it doesn't look like anything has really changed.
Yeah, it looks the same.
But the rest of the house is destroyed.
I see that grate right there that I'm just now healing. My leg is just now healing from slicing it wide open on.
Amen.
A few weeks ago.
Yeah, man. You got to make sure that the other animals don't get inside that little tortoise pen.
No, you don't want that.
No, that guy's too damn cute.
So moving, like literally in the process, like supposedly this weekend, right?
No, not supposedly. I mean, this weekend, bro. We got
definitely this weekend.
26-foot U-Haul in front of the house right now. You can't even see the front of the house because it's so quick. But yeah, we're loading it up. We're gonna start loading it up in the morning, and by Monday, hopefully, we'll be living in the new house. So
nice, very good.
It's exciting and terrifying, and a lot of everything all at once. So,
yeah.
But
anything else going on in the realm of reptiles at your house? Besides, you want to get everything moved safely?
I mean, I don't think so, bro. Like everything's pretty much the same. A lot of stuff will be changing when I move, but I did get a new water monitor. I don't know if I mentioned that last week.
I can't remember if you said that on the last episode.
But I purchased. Well, not purchased. It just kind of fell into my lap. But I got a water monitor, a little female water monitor that someone was looking to rehome, and I couldn't resist myself. I gave her a home. So
nice.
Now I don't know that I'll ever pair them up, but I got a pair if I ever did want to. So
yeah, sure. I mean, that's a good attitude. You don't have to pair them up, but now you have two water monitors. They both happen to be male and female, so one day down the line, if you want to, you might be able to.
Exactly. Especially with the craziness of the Lacey.
Yeah, it might not be in your best interest if this doesn't work out in our favor to be producing a bunch of water monitors.
Exactly. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. Yikes. Well, I mean, what's going on here? It's been an interesting week, I guess, around here. Still getting New Caledonian eggs, crested geckos, gargoyle geckos. There seems to be picking up, so that's good. You may have noticed if you're a follower of the channel, I posted a short a few weeks ago that I had a parthenogenic clutch from my super blotch female gargoyle gecko. One of those eggs did go bad, so I still just have the one, but it looks really good. I haven't candled it. I think I'm going to candle it sometime in the next week to see if maybe, it's developing more or if it's still just got that one little ring in it, just to get an idea of what's happening. But it still looks great. It hasn't molded over. It doesn't look sunken in or anything like that. Looks perfect. So
hopefully
we'll have a little clone baby.
That'd be really cool.
At some point. That would be really cool. Let's see. I got I am actively incubating now my first it's not my first clutch that I've gotten, but it's the first clutch that I'm actually incubating properly at the proper temperature, because I freed up my incubator of Coleonyx metratus,
Hey, I'm excited.
Central
about
American banded gecko eggs. Yeah, so I have a clutch of
About
those in the
time,
incubator. Yeah, so hopefully in the next 60, 65 days, we'll have some little baby banded geckos.
Heck yeah, man. That's
That would
awesome.
be
That's
really cool.
exciting, man. Those little guys are
Yeah,
cool.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm also working on an upgrade for my pair. I'm gonna move them into a 20, but I'm doing it the way I want to do it. I'm doing a 3-sided background on it, the sides and the back. So I've been working on it a little bit every day to try to get it ready.
You need to do a build video.
That way, that's what I'm trying to do. Not that good about filming myself working on it because it's kind of weird and awkward. But so there might be some little cuts in there where stuff gets done like that. But I'm trying to make a fairly short video to put on the channel for you guys. I don't want to give you something that's like 25 or 30 minutes because nobody wants to watch that. So
I want to watch that.
You want to watch that, but the public at large wants to watch something that's maybe about like 10 minutes. So we'll try and keep it around 10. Yeah, those are the big things, honestly, that are going on around.
So,
right
how
now.
did your show go last week? I remember you. Oh, no, the week before.
Yeah. So when I was,
shows, I'm confused, bro.
When we had the week we had Wally on, I was in Moundsville for a 2-day show. It's the first time I ever did a 2-day show. That show was fantastic. Not only was it really cool because there was a lot of people and there was a lot of cool people to meet and talk to. I did actually make some sales, which is always nice. We've talked about this with Wally that sometimes it's like, it's more fun to just talk to people. But at the end of the day, if you sell stuff, that is kind of why you're there.
Yeah.
So making sales was nice. Met Richard from the Tarantula Collective, which is really cool. And he bought a gecko from me. So now we have a gecko living at the Tarantula Collective house, which is pretty cool. He also got a gecko from another person there. So he's got 2 crested geckos now. He's gonna get super sucked into it, I'm sure.
He's hooked. He screwed up.
Yeah. So that was fun. And you may or may not be seeing Richard on this show soon. Hint, hint.
That would be cool.
Be looking for it. Hey, look at that. Look at that. Well, there you go. Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, he's a great guy. It was really fun talking to him. I think he's going to be a gecko guy. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for him. Maybe he'll pop in and say it. He already has some geckos. I think he's got some grandis, maybe some day geckos. I'm not sure which species.
I love day geckos,
but yeah,
I'll tell you what. I didn't have much luck with mine. It's like you just look at them wrong and they're out of the cage, bro.
I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews on that from people. I've heard people say that they're not that bad, and then I've had people say that they're crazy. In my experience, limited to basically just working with them in pet stores, they're insane. So, but I've seen people like tame them to the point where they'll just like come eat out of a little Pangea cup that you're holding in your hand and stuff, which is pretty crazy.
Would be cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so that show went really well. They're pretty cool. He says, I got a giant day gecko. Oh, and 2 leopard geckos. Okay, you may have told me that, but I'm sorry I forgot if you told me about the leopards. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, a whole bunch of tarantulas. If you don't know about the Tarantula Collective channel, go check it out. It's really cool. Super high-quality videos and a lot of really good information. And Richard's just a really nice guy. He said his day gecko is pretty chill as long as he doesn't touch her. Likes being tongue-fed crickets. That's
I didn't
pretty cool.
even have to touch mine, okay? Like, I just looked at it and it was gone. It's so freaking. You have to chase them down with a freaking container trying to. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
That did work.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty great.
The big hurts.
Yeah. But so that show went really well. And then we had a show right here in my hometown in Huntington. First time we've been able to procure a place in Huntington. It was weird, man. It was a great show for turnout. There was I think it was over 6,000 people that showed up for that show. But I would probably guess, and I wasn't outside to see this because I had to stay inside at my table pretty much the whole show. I would guess that, I don't know, maybe 1/5 or 1/6 of those people might have not ever even made it inside. The venue wasn't allowing us to let more than a certain number of people in. So whatever doorman they gave us at the beginning was like just letting people flood in, and it got super crowded. And then they like replaced him with another person, and then she started letting people 10. She would let in, I think she would let in 10 if 20 came out or something like that, or maybe it was the other way around. I don't know, but it got really crazy. There was a line outside wrapped around the entire building all day, literally all day, and then we ended up staying for 2 extra hours just to try to accommodate. So that part of it was not good. There's definitely some work to be done with that venue if we're going to make it work. We may be looking for something else. I mean, it was a good show for meeting people and getting people in the door and seeing some really cool animals, maybe some people who haven't seen stuff before, which is always nice. That's one of the things I like most about the shows is talking with people and educating them and stuff. But yeah, the venue situation was not super good. Richard says that's insane. I mean, I'm not in charge of that, so I don't run that show. I am intimately involved with it in a way, but it's the guy who owns the show is going to have to figure that out, with them. Basically, bottom line is Huntington didn't treat us as good as we would have thought they would overall, as far as how they took care of us at the venue. But other than that, it was a lot of people at the show. So hopefully we get it figured out and we can get a better, more efficient way to get people in and out the door. And in the future, it'll go better.
Yeah. Yep. It's freaking awesome.
But yeah, I don't have a show again until the 23rd, I think.
Dude, I'm so depressed. We got a show this weekend, and I can't even go because I'm moving.
You can't go because you're moving.
I can't even go because this is the wrong direction, man.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep. Oh, boy. So, aside from all the stuff, wrote another quick thing, just a little thing. I ended up, so if you're not familiar, we had Brett and Gabby from Morph Menagerie. They're based out of North Carolina on our show. They're one of our earlier guests. And they're a lot of fun. They're really cool people and awesome mainly crested gecko breeders, but they work with some gargoyles, some Urodactylodes, I'm not sure if they're personally working with Chihuahuas right now. They might be, but I know that some of their friends are people we've had on the show.
I'm really sad on that episode, actually.
Oh yeah, you didn't get it. You weren't in on that one, were you?
Here, bro.
Oh man, yeah. Well, we'll have to talk to him. Yeah, we'll have to talk to him when we see him at Tinley. You'll have to get more FaceTime with him.
For sure.
But Gabby specifically, I know Brett's obviously involved because they're a team, they're husband and wife team, and they both are intimately involved in the gecko business. But Gabby's usually the one on screen for this. Her and AJ Davidson of AJD Reptiles have a YouTube channel now called Geckos with Morph Menagerie and AGD Reptiles. That's the name of the channel. And I think bi-weekly or so they do auctions on there. They used to do them on Instagram, but YouTube has proved to be a really nice platform for them to do auctions. So they basically get a whole bunch of geckos. Both of them get a whole bunch of geckos. They meet up in one place, whether it's Gabby's house or AJ's house, and they film, a live auction. And, they want you to, there's certain rules that you have to follow or whatever. And then you basically can buy geckos from them over YouTube. And I was able to get a really cool 3-pack from them on their last auction, which is pretty sweet.
Bro, one of those.
It's pretty insane. Yeah, I got it shipped to me on Tuesday this week. I got it on Wednesday. It was really cool. They're all really cool. I like them. They're all set up. They're doing well. They're eating bugs and Pangea for me. I had absolutely no reservations about getting geckos from Gabby and Brett because they're awesome. So, hey, look at that.
Oh, Kyle, how's it going?
There's a good friend of ours, Mr. Kyle Riddle, herp connoisseur, legendary from way back.
Yeah, man.
He knows his herps, man. We've been in this thing together for forever. I used to herp with Kyle all the time. We got some crazy things that have happened to us out there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, aside from all the news, we've ate up about 20 minutes of our time talking about what's going on with us, which is good because, to be honest, we're a little lacking in content tonight. As you can see from the thumbnail, we got sort of our news segment. We've done one of these before, and we just try to put together a little bit of crazy things that we're able to find on the internet about, stuff that's going on in the world of reptiles, whether it be in herpeticulture. Not much of that tonight, mostly just weird science and conservation and legislation stuff.
Yeah, some of this stuff's pretty crazy.
Yeah, some of it's pretty interesting.
Hey, dude, I'm not like no technology like person, bro. I can barely send an email, so this stuff's pretty crazy.
That's all good.
Uh,
But yeah, man. So I'm not gonna really come at this in any particular order, but I guess maybe I'll start with sort of like what I'm calling the conservation section. It's near and dear to my heart. I'm gone to school for wildlife biology, and conservation is definitely important. So one interesting little tidbit that I was able to find thanks to Reptiles magazine is apparently recently the Oklahoma City Zoo was able to hatch 4 Guatemalan beaded lizards. So if you're not familiar with beaded lizards, they are in the same family as Gila monsters. That might be something you're more familiar with. They are, I think, the only group of truly venomous lizards, although we are finding out more and more that most monitors do produce some sort of primitive venom in their salivary glands. But yeah, and these things, I didn't think much of it. I kind of saw this story when I was looking, and I was like, I wonder why that's a big deal, because I thought beaded lizards were pretty common in the pet trade. But I'm thinking that it's actually other species of beaded lizards that are common in the pet trade, because these Guatemalan beaded lizards are apparently, they're estimated to have anywhere between 200 and 500 individuals left in the wild, which makes them extremely imperiled.
Usually what you see in the trade is Mexican beaded lizards, right?
Right. Yeah, I think so.
That's what you see most.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. There might be other species too that are in there, but I don't know. But yeah, the Guatemalan beaded lizard apparently very, very endangered, and like a lot of zoos, the Oklahoma City Zoo are doing some very good work for conservation when it comes to captive bred assurance colonies of these types of animals, which is another thing that the Lacey Act amendments could really mess up, because zoos are constantly switching things back and forth and trying to keep programs alive that way. And if certain things get listed, then that's it. Those things die. I don't think there's any room for institutional immunity or anything there when it comes to that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
It's like, just go ahead.
What's that?
No, you go ahead. I don't.
Well, I mean, I was just gonna move on. So if you got something to say about that,
good.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So another thing that I was able to find that I thought was pretty cool. You may have heard this. So almost everybody knows about the Galapagos tortoises in the Galapagos Islands, right? Obviously Galapagos made famous by Charles Darwin, his work there on natural selection, evolutionary biology. He's sort of one of the fathers of that. I like to say one of, because we of course have Alfred Russel Wallace was discovering the exact same thing at the exact same time on the complete opposite side of the world, which a lot of people don't know that, but that's what happened. Yeah, so there's tortoises that live in the Galapagos. We know we have certain Galapagos species in the pet trade. Very expensive, very huge, obviously big, long-lived tortoises. It's a huge commitment. But what you may not know is there's different tortoise species on different islands. So in 2019, they discovered what they thought was an extinct tortoise on the Fernandina Island in the Galapagos chain. They found a female Fernandina Island tortoise, and they called her Fernanda, obviously.
Yeah.
And now they have her, and they know that, and they think that she may be the last tortoise. And there's unfortunately some confirmation that could be true. They've been working very hard, searching. An 18-person team on foot searched the 65 square kilometers of habitat that they could actually get to on foot on the island for years now, and they have not found a single trace of another Fernandina Island tortoise.
I'll tell you what, it was a long time before they found that one. So.
Yeah, that's not to say that there couldn't be some more out there. They're obviously really focused on finding a male, because if they can find a male, then they can do a captive breeding program and try to reestablish the tortoise. I don't know, because I didn't really dig into it. I don't know what the exact reasoning behind the decline of the tortoise on Fernandina Island is. It could be a number of things, probably having to do with human presence, I'm sure, on the island, whether it's, predators or actual removal and harvesting in the early days of explorations of the islands. Those tortoises were extremely popular on long-term ship voyages as food items, because you could basically just store them in the hull of the boat, and they're so hardy that they just don't die, and then when you're ready to eat them, you eat them, because people eat turtles. That's what they do. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think now, especially for us, because we love these things. But yeah, people eat turtles. So yeah, so they're hoping to get the search going again later this year, and they're going to try to employ some aerial search techniques. They're going to get a helicopter involved to try to look in some of the places where you're not actually able to get to on foot. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they will find some more of these Fernandina Island tortoises before long. That would be nice.
At least one or two more would be freaking awesome.
I mean, yeah, a male would be really good, because then they could hopefully get things. Then they could hopefully get things going.
Horses lay a lot of eggs, bro. So
yeah, yep, absolutely. So on the front of conservation, this is a good news story. It's a feel good part of the story here. So in the Aldabra Atoll, this little island, about 50 years ago, supposedly around 1968. Hopefully that math works out. I know that's what I read in the article. They finally decided that they were going to protect the green sea turtle in that area, from harvest, from everything else. Mm-hmm. So what they found over the last several decades is that the protection that they put in place has actually worked really well, at least in that region. They went from around 2,000 to 3,000 eggs per nesting season back in the day to over 15,000 now, which is pretty darn good. That's a huge increase. So yeah, conservation can work. It's something that's important, something that we have to continue to do. I mean, everybody knows that sea turtles are pretty much all listed as endangered, and you can get in really a lot of trouble for messing with them now. But that was not always a thing. That is not always a thing.
People used to eat those things, man.
Yeah, eat them, harvest their shells, because their shells are pretty.
Make all kinds of out of the shells and all types of crap, man.
Yep. All that stuff is highly illegal now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always. We're really not that long into serious legislation against animal crime, unfortunately. But we have made strides. Things do work. We're figuring it out. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're also doing other things that are hurting wild populations at the same time. Things that are still considered legal, which sucks. But that's a feel good story. Lots more green sea turtles in the Aldabra Atoll now than there were 50 years ago. Yeah, green sea turtles are super. I mean, all sea turtles are really cool. I've had the fortunate experience to dive with a couple of species, and they'll blow your mind whole. I promise you.
Yeah, I've never actually seen
really cool.
one in person, but I can only imagine.
They're cool. Yeah, I had a huge loggerhead that I dove with on a night dive in the Keys. Absolutely massive. They told us before we went on the dive that there had been one hanging around that area, and I was like, okay, we probably won't see it. We're swimming around in the dark, and I got my light on my hand. I got my little wrist mounted light, and I point it down, and I see this turtle. He's just laid out on the bottom, just laid out in the sand, and his head's like the size of a basketball. He's absolutely massive. And my dive buddy's like up here and above me, and I shine my light up there, and I'm like, look, shining the turtle, shining him, shining the turtle, shining him, and then he looks down and he goes, oh my god. And then
that's everybody ballsy, man. Just swimming around in the dark, like.
Oh, night dives are the best, bro. Night dives are the best.
Yeah, okay. Screw that.
They are. They're very cool. I've had some of my best experiences. Honestly, my absolute best experiences diving have been at night. Really cool. But that's a weird aside. Sea turtles are awesome. That's what you take from that.
No, sea turtles are awesome. Sharks are the ones that are scary.
Now, sharks are cool too, man.
I
want the opportunity to dive with more sharks. I've only ever had one black tip and a couple of nurse sharks in Florida. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, they're beautiful, bro. But I ain't
Yeah.
swimming with them.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
So a couple of moving on, a couple of stories that are inspired by your absent guest tonight, Charles. We were speaking earlier this week about what we were going to do since we didn't have a guest lined up, and he was wanting to talk about. He's a big science nerd for sure. He loves physics and engineering and technology and all that stuff. So he wanted to talk about like technology that's inspired by animals. And since we're a reptile podcast, we'll talk about a couple of different stories that I was able to find. And we're big into geckos here on the Gecko Galaxy channel.
Cool.
So we're talking about Gecko Feet right now. If you looked at the thumbnail, you would have saw that there's a little picture of a gecko foot and then some crazy ass looking robot next to it. So gecko feet are pretty impressive. Obviously, there's some species of gecko like leopard geckos and ground geckos and things like that don't have the toe pads. But most of your geckos that you're familiar with have these toe pads that allow them to climb vertical surfaces. They can climb up your walls, up glass, on ceilings. And, how are they doing this? It's crazy. If you've looked into it, then you know. But if you haven't, then you realize that if you take an electron micrograph of these toe pads, they're literally little hairs, thousands upon thousands of these little hairs that they call seta, and then they have what they call spatula on the end. That's a weird name, but that's what they call them. It's like a little flared out section, and those little hairs interact with the surfaces through static and van der Waals forces. Those are things that we call van der Waals forces that are basically just like they're interactions that cause a certain level of attraction between molecules that don't have anything to do with like covalent or ionic bonds, if you're familiar with chemistry, and I'm really not a good chemistry guy. I barely made it through chemistry. So I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah, they work that way, and we've come to understand a little bit more about how they work. And there's a company, ironically, I'm sure there's a few other ones, but ironically, there's a company called Gecko Robotics, which is pretty cool, that built this robot. It's the one that's on our thumbnail. It's a climbing robot, and it uses the same type of principles that Gecko Feet use to climb vertical surfaces. And they're using these robots to inspect large like pipe projects and stuff like that. They basically just put the robot on, and it just climbs. And it's got cameras, and they do inspections and stuff using that. So they don't have to send people in. It's pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah, man.
Also, too, I found out in the thing that in 2014,
just little like robot gecko, just
yeah, that's crazy. I don't know how big the thing is, but I mean, it looks kind of big to me. But imagine if it was just little, or imagine if they had literally made it like a gecko. It was just like, right? Yeah, it'd be pretty crazy. But I found out too that in 2014, DARPA, so our technology researchers in the government, demonstrated this thing that they called Geck skin, which actually worked to have a researcher of theirs that weighs 100 kilograms, 2.2 pounds, so it's like a 200-pound person, saddled with 20 more kilograms of recording gear, scaled an 8-meter tall, so 26-foot glass wall using these two paddles that had the Geck skin stuff that they developed on it. And they basically just went and climbed 26 feet up a glass wall like a gecko, but we're talking about like a 200-plus pound person, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, that's
Spider-Man, bro. That's badass.
So yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So we love geckos, obviously, and geckos are inspiring some really interesting technology. So just some little fun factoids for you guys, if you haven't thought about it before. The other one that I thought was kind of interesting, the article was entitled "Humble Lizards Offer Surprising Approach to Engineering Artificial Lungs." So there's researchers that are obviously working on looking for ways to make replacement organs for people, whether they're making them. I mean, you may have heard of technologies where they're actually using 3D printing. They're printing organs out of human cells, which is pretty crazy. And so instead of plastic coming out of that thing, you've got literal cell linings and walls coming out of that.
Are you serious?
But yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I've heard of stuff like that. It's pretty insane. I mean, it's obviously not like good enough to where if like, oh, my heart failed, I'm gonna go to the hospital and get a new 3D printed heart. Can't do that right now, but
Bro,
you
science
can't
is
do that right
crazy,
now.
man.
It is. It's insane. Technology is getting pretty nuts. But yeah, so basically, these researchers who are wanting to look at ways to model how lungs develop in animals have been looking for a good analog, something that's simplistic, but also very efficient in the way that it develops its lungs. And they settled on the humble brown anole. If you've ever been to Florida and you've seen those little brown lizards running everywhere, those are the brown anoles. Unfortunately, they don't belong there, but they are very well established. Then you find more of them than you find of the native green anole at this point. But yeah, the brown anoles, they actually went down to Florida and harvested like 20 brown anoles. They caught them and brought them back to their lab and set them up in terrariums and got a breeding group going. And they're monitoring how these animals' lungs develop in the egg. And basically, it only takes like 2 days for it to go from like a little flat balloon cell wall lining to a fully developed lung. And of course, it doesn't look exactly like our lungs. Our lungs are very complicated, but they were able to use that to build their own 3D models of these lungs. So they're one step closer to learning how to build artificial lungs because of a brown anole, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, absolutely insane.
Yeah, here in another 20 years, you'll be able to drink your liver away and go get a new one at the grocery store.
Yeah, just go get a new one. No big deal. Yeah. Yeah, who cares? Don't have to take care of yourself because you just get a new one.
Science will give you a new one, yeah.
Yep, science will give you another one. That's the way it goes. So this is one that I thought was really cool, and I talked with Gabe about it before we started, and it was really weird. So, we're reptile breeders. I'm breeding geckos. Gabe's also breeding geckos. He's breeding. He's working towards breeding some other really cool lizards, which is awesome.
I know.
But a lot of what we do, a lot of what we do in this hobby is centered around selectively breeding animals for particular traits, whether it be a color mutation, a pattern mutation, something like that. I mean, the whole ball python industry is built on that, right? And there's a gazillion of those traits now. And we do that by, well, this snake looks cool. I like that look. I'll breed it with this other snake and see if I can make snakes that maybe carry it and then breed them back. And then if they carry it, then I know it's, it's a recessive or whatever. Or if I breed this snake that looks really cool to a regular snake and it makes 50% ones that look really cool, then okay, it's an incomplete dominant gene. Yeah. Something like that. And then I can make supers maybe. I'll try that. But so there's this technology that exists now in genomics, and it's been out for several years. You may or may not have heard of it. It's called CRISPR-Cas9. And I used to know the acronym CRISPR. I used to know what it stood for. But I'm not 100% sure right off the top of my head. And I don't want to take the time to look it up for you guys. But if you feel like looking it up, look it up. It's all capital letters, CRISPR-Cas9, CRISPR-Cas9. And what it is it's a gene. Yeah, it's a gene editing tool.
Okay.
It's a gene editing tool that they discovered doing research on bacteriophages, which are bacterial viruses. And basically what it allows you to do, it's absolutely crazy. It allows you to cut and paste genes. It's literally a cut and paste tool for genes. If you know what a gene is doing, if you know what's responsible for a particular trait, let's say in the case of human health, it's a bad thing. You know that this exact gene or these genes right here are responsible for making you sick with this genetic illness. In theory, and this is not something we do yet because it's still you could literally cut it out and put a normal one in and then cure the person. And in theory, you could do it. It's not something that's approved, obviously. There's a lot of ethical questions that go into doing work on humans. But this brings me back to my point. So some people used CRISPR-Cas9. They identified the gene in an anole that's responsible for skin pigmentation and albinism specifically. And then they used CRISPR-Cas9 to just insert an albino gene where a regular gene would be, and they produced an albino anole, which is just crazy.
And these were two perfectly normal anoles, right?
Yeah.
The parents.
Yes. Yeah, they had to sequence the genes first to figure out exactly where to pinpoint. But yeah, then they were able to just make an albino anole. So imagine if the technology becomes like super available and we stop selectively breeding. We're just like, let's just give this gecko a shot, and now it's gonna have
Now you're gonna
have albino babies.
what the heck, man?
I don't think we're gonna do that,
We're
but
both
that's just
pythons
crazy.
right now.
Yeah. Yep. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
That's just crazy.
But yeah,
you're gonna show this picture of this animal just because you showed
I
it
can show it.
earlier. And,
Yeah, I can show it. I have to grab it real quick. Let's see.
Bro, I don't know. Okay, like I never wanted to know till now, just because it looks cool.
Yeah. Here, I'll share the screen here.
Even though I have, I have seen.
There it is. That's the albino anole that was produced by.
It's just weird.
Gene editing. Gene editing alone. No selective breeding. They weren't like, here's a het albino to an albino, or an albino to an albino. They just
gene edit.
They just made that. Yeah.
Bro,
little diagram of what they're doing. They literally just they injected the genes, the Cas9. This is how it works. You see, that's DNA, and when it goes into a like a helicase molecule, which will literally unzip the genes. They'll literally untwist the helix so that you can they can open up a part, and then it can be read, and then certain proteins can be made from it. That just basically cuts out the part they don't want, puts the part they want in. It rolls back up, and then when this lizard lays eggs, you got albino.
Albinos.
Yep.
Well, you need to tell them to make me a velociraptor, bro. I want one of them motherfuckers.
They had some velociraptor DNA. They probably could, but they don't.
That'd be badass, bro.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty nice.
That's what I need to my collection. Okay, I'm moving to the country. I'll have plenty of space. No.
Yeah, just a cool little velociraptor pet. No big deal. No big deal at all. Oh boy. So yeah, that's most of the stuff I had. The other things that I have on here are not as interesting. In our last news segment, we talked about smuggling. We talked about the Lizard King, Michael von Nostrand of Strictly Reptiles. That still pops up when you do some searches. I think he was convicted of some turtle smuggling recently. But there was another man in Mexico, he's a California resident, but he was stopped at the border in Mexico recently with a little over 60 reptiles stuffed into his clothes, in his jacket, in his groin, in his pockets, in bags. And they found through investigating over the last several years, since 2016, he has probably been responsible for about 1,700 reptiles being smuggled out of both Mexico and Hong Kong, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So there's still some really shady stuff going on out there, unfortunately. And then the other thing that is a really scary, and it just goes to show you why being a member of USARK and caring about what legislation is coming around is important. Is recently North Carolina put some serious restrictions on black and white tegus, which is unfortunate.
I mean, that's very unfortunate.
So basically, there's a certain number of people that will probably be grandfathered in as current owners of black and white tegus, but they'll have to apply for a permit. It'll allow them to retain, transport, transfer, export the animals in their possession if they want to. It looks here. Red tegus and Colombians, white or gold, were not restricted. So it was just Argentine black and white tegus, unfortunately, that were restricted. I don't know. I mean, I know that I've heard tegus can take some pretty cool temperatures, but I can't imagine that they would thrive in North Carolina. I don't know. Maybe they can, maybe they can't.
I'll tell you what, man. They can sleep through some shit, bro. I imagine, I'm not going to lie to you, I would imagine that if they had a deep enough burrow, I could see them survive. I mean, my tegus, bro. Sometimes they sleep for 5 months. Like, they can sleep a long time, man. And like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I've never. I mean, it's like a little reptile bear. Like
A reptile bear. A scaly bear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh, they hibernate for a long time, man. And
Gotcha.
it's not the same every year, but they can. So
Kyle says he agrees.
Yeah. I can see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, it probably could. It probably could. It's unfortunate that it comes to that. You know, I don't know what the whole catalyst for that was. Probably, the fact that Florida has been, working and banning them down there. He said, Jared says it gets hotter in NC than Florida. You're probably right. I've been in North Carolina for some extremely hot summer days, and it's damn near brutal.
Exactly.
Oh no,
but you know what? I've secretly wanted to. Have always kind of, like wanted to try something like that. To see if maybe I could set up an enclosure with like a burrow that I could half-ass control. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And see, but I worry, because these are my babies. But I think it's possible to do it, man. Because you see some of these people like in Texas and I mean other places that keep them outside, and these lizards know what to do, bro. Like they know what to do. I mean, they can tell before the weather has even changed that it's coming. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, and speaking of being able to burrow and stuff, I mean, this is a completely different species and something I already knew about their biology, but I just didn't think about it for pet ownership. So eastern box turtles, which I don't know if it's illegal to keep them anywhere within their range, but I did see a TikTok the other day, interestingly enough, of a lady who they apparently have 2 eastern box turtles that they like keep as pets in their backyard. And they, instead of just letting them try to like hibernate themselves, they did a facilitated hibernation by digging a hole slightly deeper than 18 inches and burying the turtles.
What?
Which, because that's below the frost line, so they won't freeze, which is what they do. I mean, they do bury themselves,
bro.
But I just feel like, oh my god, you literally buried them alive, and then they dug them up. They dug them up like the other day, and they were cool. They just rinsed them off, and they were just like, "Hey, what's up? I'm a turtle. I'm back at it."
What?
But
see, like, what's gonna happen is
I was like, I don't think I can do it. I don't. I mean, it's obviously probably way better for them than just staying active, 365 days a year for the remainder of their life.
Been studies on, like rat snakes and stuff like that say that if they don't hibernate, they don't live as long.
I believe it. Yeah.
So I mean, they've done studies where like snakes and stuff like that in like whatchamacallit, like New York and like just blah.
Yeah, I mean, most really successful colubrid breeders, North American colubrid breeders, bring their snakes down for I think like 4 to 5 months, typically for 50 or below degrees at least. So slightly below in some cases, for that period of time. And basically, all they're doing is just periodically checking to make sure they're still kicking and giving them water in case they want water, but they're not feeding. They're just keeping them cold, and they come right back out of it like it's nothing. And obviously it facilitates getting those breeding hormones moving. So it's great for for breeding purposes. But I can imagine that overall it's good for health too, longevity.
I mean, like, it makes sense. I mean, like if you sleep and rest for half of your life, I mean, I think you'd be a little healthier in general, right?
Yeah, it'd be nice. Yeah, I wish I could sleep for like 4 or 5 months every year. That'd be cool.
It'd be freaking awesome. Look, like my girl would love to do that shit. Okay,
I'd love to do it too.
Tries to sleep every
I'm with her on that one. Oh man, it's all good. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all we had for you guys. Just a few things that we were able to pick out, and what's going on with reptiles today. Some of that stuff was a little bit older, like the albino anole and the CRISPR stuff was from a couple of years ago, but it was too cool not to
It's
include.
still cool as shit, bro. Like,
Yeah, but yeah, there's always stuff going on, man. And yeah, I mean we're getting to the point now where we're gonna wrap it. We're not gonna keep this going as long as we normally would. But be looking for the next 2 weeks. We have guests lined up for you guys. So we got some cool guests coming in to talk to you and us. So definitely be looking for that to happen. I'll get I'll get those episodes posted at least a week in advance. So you'll be looking Sunday or Monday for the next one to be posted, so you can see who's coming.
I'll probably be in a whole different setup.
He'll be in a whole different setup. Hopefully, he'll have some kind of connection to be able to join us. That would be the best, the ultimate
We're
way.
working on the internet, okay? We're working on the
If you get the internet going, that would be
actually
great. If not, then you might have to do your phone, I guess.
No. I'm pretty excited because they just put in like I think it's like wire internet like on our block, bro.
You mean like the fiber optic?
Like fiber optic, yeah. It's
nice.
not. It's
Good.
some like Concord internet or whatever, but still, I mean, like
Okay.
it's not satellite. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So
thanks, buddy. We appreciate you coming in, man. You take care of yourself too.
that's for sure, man.
Yeah.
We need to go hang out with Kyle one of these days, man.
It would be nice, man. He's out on the top of a really picturesque mountain out there in Colorado right now. I've been seeing pictures on Facebook. It's pretty crazy. Living with wild horses and shit. Yeah.
Fucking badass.
Yep, pretty cool. I know. Yep, he's got it. But yeah, man. So that's what we got for you this week. Everyone who came in, Tarantula Collective, Wally from Supreme Gecko, our buddy Kyle, Jared. I'm not sure if I've seen you in here before, but if you're new to the channel, thanks for tuning in. We'd love to have you as a sub and a regular guest. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed and who's watched our videos and commented and been active in our chat. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. We love doing this. I want to keep doing it for a very long time, and we hope that you guys want to keep seeing it. So,
and I'm sure we'll get better as we go.
Yeah. Yep. And as always, check the description down below. We have links for USARK. We have a link for their YouTube channel as well. Go subscribe to the USARK YouTube channel. They can't get enough subscribers, so do that. Check us out on our other social media platforms.
Yeah, man.
Gecko Galaxy on
DIY
Facebook.
Keeper.
Yep, DIY Reptile Keeper on Instagram. We have Gecko Galaxy on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page dedicated to the Reptile Hangouts podcast, which we're trying to grow. So if you haven't gone over there and given us a like and follow, and you do enjoy the podcast and you feel inclined, do that. We'd greatly appreciate it. Other than that,
we're hanging out.
Yeah. Well, hold on.
We're hanging out.
CJ says, yeah, he says something.
You're hanging out.
You're hanging out. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
We're all hanging out. This has been Reptile Hangouts podcast. That's right. We did okay. We did pretty good doing that together.
It's okay. It's better than the last time.
It was better than the last time we tried it without him. That's for sure.
For sure.
But yeah, this has been Reptile Hangouts. As always, we loved having you guys join us for this show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys 1 week from today. Same time, same place. Gecko Galaxy YouTube, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll have a really cool guest for you guys. So,
bye, guys.
Have a good night.